Welcome to the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast, where we talk with martial arts practitioners about their histories and the influence that their practice of martial arts has on their lives. You are listening to the free version of this podcast, which is abbreviated. Help support this program by considering to subscribe to us on Patreon, where you will get 4 full-length podcasts each month, 1 week before the YouTube release date. The cost is that of about 1 coffee shop coffee per month. Go to www.patreon.com/malmag to subscribe. That is www.patreon.com/malmag. If you would like to purchase single full-length episodes of the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast, visit our Gumroad page at malmag.gumroad.com, and that is malmag.gumroad.com. This week I get on Zoom and I connect to San Diego to a children's martial arts instructor, Amanda Piepgras. She talks about how she trains children with special needs. Sit back and enjoy. Welcome to the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast. Boy, if I can say that right. Winding down here, season 1, and I've got a really interesting guest. This is someone who's actually reached out to me. And I'm really glad because she does some very interesting stuff down in the San Diego area. She's working with kids, and her name is Amanda Piepgras. And I'm not going to talk too much about her. I'm going to talk about herself a little bit. So, Amanda, welcome to the show. And thanks for kind of jumping out and grabbing my attention, because it looks like you're doing some pretty interesting stuff.
Oh, thank you.
So you're in San Diego area, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And can you tell us a little bit about just how you got started in martial arts in general?
I started training about 16 years ago. I was living in New York and I had some health problems that were causing weight gain. So I thought it would be a way to exercise and lose weight. And I just found so many other benefits to it that I ended up, sticking with it. And I got my black belt in karate. And then I switched over to MMA. So now I do Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, wow. Okay. So do you do karate anymore?
No, but that's mainly what I teach the kids.
Oh, I see. Okay. So you got one thing that you sort of teach out as far as the kids are concerned, and then another thing that you practice.
Right.
I see. And is there, I know this is kind of an interesting thing because we sort of do something sort of similar, I think, maybe at the Inosanto Academy, in that we have a kids class that we sort of, it might look a little bit more like a traditional martial art, and we put sort of a belt system in there for the kids and stuff like that. Do you find that something like a more traditional based martial art, like a karate, is something better for kids than, say, the other things you're doing, like Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Was that what you were doing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not to say that these aren't traditional martial arts, because, I mean, something like Muay Thai has obviously got a very, with the respects, the why and stuff that we have the kids go through, there's a very tradition, Buddhist tradition to that. And even with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, obviously it's connected to the Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. So, but they're, I think, a little more eclectic, I think we want to say.
I find that in my martial arts journey, whichever martial art you're gonna like and stick with is the one that you should train.
That's true.
Um,
Otherwise you wouldn't be in it, right, for very long.
Exactly. I really liked karate, and like I said, there were a lot of benefits to it. But then when I moved on to an MMA school, I really liked MMA and learning how to put the grappling and the striking together. So that's why I switched over. It has nothing to do with not liking the traditional martial arts at all. And I do teach a little mixture of all of it with the kids. It's my own curriculum.
I see. Do you find that structure, though, for something like a karate a little easier as far as like giving kids a structure?
Yeah, the best thing about teaching traditional martial art for the kids with autism especially is that there's a lot of repetition, and that makes it easier for the kids to learn, and it also makes them feel a little safer. They know exactly what they're going to be doing when they come into class.
Gotcha. What style of karate was it that you started
Um, oh, I should know this.
in? Some kind of Rue.
Oh, sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
And this was in New York.
In New York, yes.
Did you grew up in New York?
Yeah, I was born and raised in the Bronx.
Ah, winters are so much nicer out here.
They
Must.
really are. That was the whole reason I moved here was for the weather.
Yes, yes. I grew up in the Midwest, but I sort of reclaimed a birthright, I like to say, because I was born out here, but my folks had moved back to the Midwest by the time I could remember anything. But one visit in high school years went, whoa, why'd you guys move away from here and go back to there for that kind of winter, And
Right.
it certainly put the idea in my head, get the hell out of that kind of weather and head out into
Yeah, my
warm.
my family has always been back and forth between California and New York. And I like both places, honestly, but like I said, the weather is better in San Diego, so I'm just gonna live here.
Understood. So I was doing a little bit of reading about you, and your background is actually in working with kids, right?
Oh yeah, I'm an occupational therapy assistant. I have been for 21 years, and before that, I was a teacher aide at United Cerebral Palsy. So I've been working with kids with special needs for 23, 24 years now,
Wow, that's great.
and I have a sister with special needs.
Oh yeah, I read about that in on your website as well. So that's really pretty interesting. Do you think your relationship with your sister is kind of where your desire to work with kids, especially with those with special needs, came from?
I do think so, and I find that a lot of people that I know of in the field that, started out with siblings with special needs, I find that they are the ones who are like the most compassionate with the patients. So, yeah, I think it made me a caregiver, I guess I would say.
Yeah, yeah, and that's pretty interesting. And I kind of like the story that you're telling here about how you sort of got into martial art to kind of help yourself, and then you saw a larger benefit, and now you're not only extending that to others, but to a very specialized kind of group of people. Because in the martial art world, I think it's difficult, or at least I know my teacher says it's difficult to find people who will teach kids. That's why he likes me quite well, hopefully for other reasons as well. But it was one of the things that I stepped in and did, and he liked that a lot. And not only teaching kids, but working with kids that have special needs, because these are all unique situations. I've worked with a couple. Like right now, I'm working with a young boy who's on the spectrum a little bit, and it's definitely unique. I think from other kids that have different needs as well. So
Yeah,
each kind of unique.
absolutely. Yeah. Autism for sure. I have plenty of kids that are on the spectrum. I have a couple of kids with cerebral palsy. I've had kids in the past with spina bifida. I don't have any right now. And I also teach a class at Gigi's Playhouse, which is a gym for kids with Down syndrome.
Oh wow, that's
And
fascinating.
I don't know if you know a lot about Down syndrome, but they tend to have a lot of medical problems, especially because they put on a lot of weight. So
Oh
exercise is especially important for that population. And the ones that come to my class seem to really enjoy it, so that's good too.
yeah, that's an amazing thing. That's like you'd said, that's kind of key with everything. As long as you have to kind of like what you're doing to keep at it. And I think that was probably part. Obviously, your journey into martial arts, mine was pretty much the same. It was, I tried out a lot of sports, and then this was the one that I really liked, so I stayed with it. Combination of the physical thing, liking that specific physical thing, and I think the environment itself was much better than at least football in the 1980s, it's basketball and all that, because coaches tend to be at least at that time period were a lot more drill sergeant types, and I'm like, well, if I want the army, I'll go join the army.
Right. Yeah, I was never good at sports growing up. I was in the band and I always had my nose in a book. So it's kind of funny that I've chosen this as my lifestyle now, but all I needed to do was find the right thing, and it turned out to be martial arts.
Yeah, that's actually not unusual with a lot of the people that I've got to meet through my 40 years in martial art, and then just kind of doing this show and meeting a lot of people. We're all kind of uniquely, like you said, sort of bookwormy kind of people. Some people are like pseudo athletic. Like, I mean, I played sports and I could compete in it, but I wasn't like a jock. I wasn't that kind of guy at all. I was definitely more of a brainiac type, I guess. So it's like martial art people seem to be these sort of the guys who like Star Trek, and like to read books, and then all of a sudden can do this sort of really cool physical thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I've also noticed that a lot of really good martial arts instructors have ADHD. So that I find that this as a sport, it does attract people with some of those special needs because you can do it, alone or you can do it with a group of people. It's kind of flexible that way.
Yeah, it's true. It has the solo component and the group component, and it's funny that you sort of talk about that like adult ADHD. I've had I think I've got it in certain aspects, probably in other aspects like training. I don't. I could sit there and focus and do one thing for an hour, 2 hours. It's never been a problem. But apparently that must be a more common thing than I thought, maybe in the beginning, because I would have instructors trick me into doing footwork for like 45 minutes. And I'm thinking, you don't need to trick me into doing this. I'll do it. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of tricky when you think about, to get good at it or to get good at anything. Even like, if you were in the band, I haven't played a musical instrument. My parents were very inclined in that way. And I certainly, I think, was tested and said I could pick it up. I've just never really had the time with all the other stuff I've done in my life to do it, but it's on my goal list. Learn how to play a damn instrument, at least enough that you can enjoy it. But the amount of repetition it takes to do anything well is
Absolutely.
something that requires focus and discipline to a certain extent. And so, how do you generally go about? Well, I guess I should first ask you. So, when you have all these different special needs kids, do you tend to go one on one, or do you have do you teach a group at the same time?
I have all my classes are group classes. Um, I keep the ratio at 6 to 1. There are some kids that need a little extra help. I allow their parents to help if they want to, or if they want to bring in like a therapist or an ABA teacher, that's fine too. But I do have a couple of assistants who help me with class, and we've all gotten certified as autism specialists as of this year. So our martial arts school is now a certified autism center.
Oh wow,
We're the
that
first one, so that's pretty amazing.
that is really unique. That's really cool. Congratulations on that.
Thank
That's really
you.
interesting. So do you and you have to kind of excuse any ignorance out of me when I ask some of these questions because there's just a lot about this I don't really know. Would you when you have a group that's of 6 students, do you tend to try to keep them where they're like group them, say have ones that disabilities are somewhat similar in a group, or would you have say someone that's got more attention disabilities in the same group with someone that's got more physical disabilities?
No, not necessarily. I try to teach them all the same way, and I make them all work with each other so that they get used to each other. And I make it very clear, like everybody in this classroom has special needs, and they're all accepted no matter what their learning style is, no matter what their strengths are. So the kids, sometimes they'll ask questions like, how come so and so can't walk or whatever the question is. And I always tell them, we all have our own special needs and we all have things that we can do really well. And this class is for everybody.
That's really great. And it sounds, I like the aspect of having them help each other too. I mean, we do that certainly in our kids' classes here. We encourage the older ones to help the younger ones because we have this huge range of age 4 to 14. The kids class that I teach, and upwards of 35 students at a time. So it's it's a little different than what you're doing, but the same sort of idea where we're going to have the kids help each other out, train together, no matter what the rank is or even what the size is, and
Right.
it works pretty well. I mean, I think it empowers them a bit, which is kind of interesting to see.
It does. It fosters leadership skills, absolutely. And martial arts is the way it's set up. Everybody's a leader and everybody's a follower, everybody's a teacher and everybody's a student, you know. I've been a black belt for a long time, but there's plenty of people that are better than me that I can learn from. And I try to teach, people that are lower ranked than me the same way. And that's what I want to teach the kids as well. Like you're learning all these skills so that you can pass them on to somebody else someday.
Exactly. Yeah, that's great. What's the age range of kids that you're teaching?
So I have two different classes. I have the Cubs class, which is kids that are 2 to 5 years old.
Oh my
And that
God.
class is shorter and it's more about like, motor planning and all those precursors to martial arts. And then we have the kids class, which is 5 and up, and that's an hour long. And we do, pad work, we do shadow boxing, and then we also do some agility and strengthening and that kind of stuff.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. So you take them as young as 2 years old.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so take me through a typical class for the 2 to 5 year olds. What do you do with them?
We start out usually with an obstacle course, like I said, to work on all that motor planning stuff.
Hmm.
So they'll do that for a few minutes. And then when I feel like they're, warmed up and their focus is good, then we'll do a couple of stations, different activities, strengthening stuff or stuff where they have to push themselves on a scooter, that kind of thing. And then we'll do a race and a game. And then usually it's time to stretch. We always end with stretching and we work on breathing because I feel like that's very important for these kids to learn how to calm down their bodies after they've gotten all excited playing the games.
Wow, that's pretty good. Do you introduce any philosophy, even in the basic sense, to kids that young?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, this is the perfect age to start teaching it because hopefully they'll take it with them forever. But absolutely, like accountability, sportsmanship, all of that, learning how to control your body. And if you need to use your self-defense moves, that's when is it okay to use them and who is it okay to
Yeah,
use them on?
exactly. Do you find the kids that young have even then somewhat of an understanding of even the concept of what that is, like defending themselves? It's like I'm not even sure little kids even understand that someone could come up and try to mess with you or something like this. I don't know. I'm trying to think how old I was when I first discovered what a bully was. I think it was a bit older, like maybe upper grade school, I guess, but or maybe at least fourth grade or something like that.
Well, unfortunately, kids with special needs are a very easy target for bullies, so they
Oh,
learn what they are pretty quick.
yikes.
Yeah. And I'll have the parents come to me and tell me, like, he's being bullied in school. Can you tell him that he's allowed to use his karate against the bully? Because the kids will sometimes not want to. They feel like, they shouldn't, they're not allowed to do that. But yes, you're allowed to defend yourself and you should defend yourself.
Now that's interesting that the parent would come to you to ask or to tell them that they're allowed to do that. So do you find that the kids are kind of looking at let's see, how would I phrase this, a two-tiered permission level? Like, okay, obviously they want mom and dad to say it's okay because that's I would say the lead authority figure in their life, but you're teaching them something sort of specialty in this hand-to-hand combat. So they're like, okay, mom and dad says it's okay, but I got to check with sensei and see if it's okay.
Yeah,
That's
I
really
guess.
interesting.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I'm another disciplinarian in their life. I'm allowed to, give them consequences when they don't behave correctly. So, yeah, I guess they do look at me that way.
Wow. So is this even at that age and with your older ones, is this bullying thing, is it common? Is it more common than I would think, I guess? Because I find it almost a little like it's a little scary to even to hear that you're saying that.
Yeah, like I said, kids with special needs are a target. They're easy, they're low hanging fruit, they're easy to pick on. A lot of them keep to themselves. Kids who have, difficulty with social situations. And yeah, that's usually who the bullies go after, unfortunately.
Wow. Wow. Do you teach any kids that aren't special needs? Do you have like a just sort of a regular kids class?
No.
Okay.
I teach self-defense once in a while. If somebody wants to like, invite me to teach a group of them, that's fine. Those are sometimes special needs and sometimes not. And my classes are inclusive, so if a family comes to me and they say one of our kids is on the spectrum and one is neurotypical, I'll take both kids. That's fine
Okay.
because the neurotypical kids make good models for the other kids.
Sure. Well, the reason I was asking because it's just this bullying thing, especially at those young ages, is um interesting, and I don't mean it that in a positive way of interesting. It's tragic, and it makes me wonder how we go about teaching other kids not to, especially at these young ages, to not go picking on anybody, let alone these kids with special needs.
Those bullies also need martial arts. They need some self-discipline. They need to know that, you don't have to go out and beat somebody up to be strong, to be, you know, liked by other people. Those kids also need some guidance. That's how I feel anyway.
Right, indeed. Where do you think that comes from, with kids behaving that way?
I mean, it's easy to blame the parents. I personally am
I
not
know
a
that's
parent, so
that's where we all go.
right. I honestly don't know. I think in some cases it's a cycle. Like kids that have been bullied in the past might become bullies later in life. Maybe it's like overcorrecting or a defense mechanism of some sort, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah, yeah, it's weird because I'm trying to think of being a kid in that age, and I think it's normal. It's like a normal mental progression sometimes that you kind of fall in with a group or you see what a group's doing, and if they're razzing somebody, you sort of razz somebody, and then the difference I think comes out in where when you see the reaction of the person. Because I'm going to say as a kid, I probably did it once or twice because I remember once and I remember seeing the person's reaction and go, wow, I feel terrible and I'll never do that again. So I think there's it's, I guess maybe as you develop, but you'd know, I think a lot more about this with your profession, a development of kids as you are getting older with that sort of emotional development and all that stuff too. Um, is there sort of a point as kids are developing where they're going to kind of either develop this empathy or not, or to whatever degree?
I think some people never develop empathy.
Yeah, that's
There's
pretty.
definitely adult bullies,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. I've been training martial arts for a long time, and I've never met somebody who is really interested in learning martial arts and to the point where, they have a black belt and they're competing. I've never met anybody like that who goes out looking for a fight.
Right.
I feel like it's always the kids who, they don't have anybody at home to talk to, or the people that they do have at home are kind of stunted in their emotional growth as well. And
And this concludes the abbreviated version of the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast. Please click the like and subscribe buttons as well as the notification bell. Also consider subscribing to the full-length podcast at www.patreon.com/malmag or purchasing individual full-length episodes at malmag.gumroad.com. Thank you for listening to this episode with Amanda Piepgras. Coming up next week, I talk to Oregon on Zoom, and we talk with yet another Indiana martial arts program alumni, Brian Pike. Check out the Malmag store at www.martialartslifestylemagazine.com and click on the Store tab. There, you will find a full selection of Timmy B's brand sticks for FMA and Krabi Krabong, as well as Timmy B's and Dos Manos t-shirts. Many more products coming soon. Also click on our Courses tab to purchase online courses, right now featuring a course in the Dos Manos stick of FMA. More courses to come. This show is produced by Martial Arts Lifestyle Magazine. Visit us at www.martialartslifestylemagazine.com and enjoy the free version of our online magazine with articles, a recommended schools page, and a worldwide events calendar. Music by Jack Al Relic. Martial Arts Lifestyle Magazine and the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast are trademarked and copyrighted by TNT LLC.